permaculture. Who's heard that word before? Anybody? So, before I get into the actual details, what's your name?
Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Before I get into the actual details of what permaculture is, in its largest sense, the concept of permaculture is this idea of a permanent culture, which I've always found that to be a very interesting concept, especially within this idea we have of a global community, something we're going to be talking about a lot. And in particular, did you know that they've actually studied eco-villages, that small-scale idea of what it's like for people to actually try to live together in a community in that small subsistence sense, and they tried to understand through research, does that actually work? And what they've actually found is that most of those eco-villages actually fail, up to 90% of them. The other thing they found is that of the ones that do make it, they have about 95% one thing in common. Do you know what that one thing is? They sang together. Why do I tell you that? Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab some. I'm not actually gonna make you sing. Okay, now that I have all of yours attention, so what do you notice about this place when you look out? What do you notice about this area? Screen? Plants? Yeah, there's lots and lots of natural beauty here. You notice mango trees and jackfruit trees in everyone's yards. They're probably planting pumpkins. They got all kinds of rice all over the place. The reason I tell you that is because the people here are people of the environment. They are mostly subsistence farmers, and the relationship they have with their land and the food it produces is hugely integral to their culture. So, in particular, over the last 60 years or so, areas like this have experienced a massive level of deforestation. The three main driving factors of that deforestation has been urban development, industrial logging, and commercialized intensive agriculture. And what you've gotten from that deforestation is a massive level of environmental degradation. So ultimately what that means is that there's been massive soil erosion, a lot of water pollution, more droughts, more floods, and that's affecting everyone in Thailand. So in recognizing that issue, we've come to understand through getting to know this community that the best thing we can do to work together is not about what we can build, it's about what we can help them to grow. We're working with these people to regenerate and further sustain their environment. So that is why we're doing permaculture. Now, for everyone that has no idea what permaculture is, permaculture, as I mentioned, stands for permanent culture, but the manner in which it's mostly practiced, by the way that people actually use that principle, is through permanent agriculture. So permaculture is essentially small-scale, organic, sustainable farming, and it uses a combination of indigenous techniques, applied science, and natural biology in order to improve the environmental performance of an area of land. And when I say improve the environmental performance, it means that it works to rehabilitate that land. So it does that through decreasing erosion, building soil, maximizing water efficiency, and increasing biodiversity. And through that, what you get is an area of land that through conscious design and development will actually allow you to maximize your space. You will reduce your inputs over time, and you will improve your crop yields over time using nature rather than trying to control it with chemistry. So, what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. Quick knowledge bomb. So, I'm part Cherokee and Blackfoot Indian. My dad grew up on his granddad's catfish farm. And out there they did something called the Three Sisters technique. So some of you might have heard of it. So if I was a conventional agriculturalist, let's say I wanted to grow corn, beans, and squash. I would take an acre of corn, an acre of beans, an acre of squash. I would grow my corn here. I would grow my beans here. I would grow my squash. Now, throughout the trip, you're going to constantly wonder, was he an art major? No. So, just know that going into it. So that's how conventional agriculture would try to work with this set of crops. Now, what permaculture thinks is, I'm going to let nature be my #1 teacher, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to take 1 acre, and I'm going to let that corn, just like that, I'm going to let those beans crawl up that stalk, and I'm going to use that squash right next to it. The cool thing about that is, again, you're integrating rather than segregating the system. So what you get here is the bean naturally uses the corn to climb up it like a vine. It's a bean, it's a legume, so it actually fixes nitrogen into the soil and adds to soil fertility. That squash sitting right next to it helps cover the soil. It keeps it moist, gives it more water retention. The microbes in the soil stay very nice and happy. So that's ultimately how permaculture looks at applying conscious design to land. It's about integrating rather than segregating your systems. It's the science of ecological relationships. Personally, the reason I like it, it's a science, but it's also an art. Your landscape is your canvas, and that is something that for me, I just genuinely enjoy. So that's kind of how permaculture works. So what we're doing in a more specific sense is we've taken an acre of land behind Nungbua School, which you guys are all going to be teaching at as well, and we are currently working with a P2 teacher named Kruan Noi in order to develop a year-long self-sustaining permaculture farm. And in particular, when you guys all see this farm tomorrow, you're going to see it's very, very diverse. It's got banana circles, a hen house, catfish pond, 70+ garden beds. It's got a food forest. It's got trellis systems. It's got frogs and catfish and ducks, not ducks yet, but they're coming. All this kind of stuff. And ultimately, again, we're able to maximize our space because the manner in which we've developed the land by integrating all those natural systems, letting them function and work for one another. So in particular, the real purpose of this farm, the three main goals of what we're doing here, is first and foremost to provide a lot of very nutritious food to the kids that go to school at Nungbua. So as Pino mentioned, a lot of these kids come from so far away that they actually have to stay at the dormitories throughout the week in order to get an education. So there's about 30 kids that stay at the dormitory throughout the week. Being that it's a government-run school, they're allotted about 20 baht per meal to eat on. If anybody can do the math real quick, that's about $2 a day that they're eating on. So the first goal of this farm is to provide lots and lots of nutritious food to help supplement their diets. The second thing we're trying to do with this farm is create a prototype by which the people in these areas can actually adopt some of these more sustainable methods and integrate it into the way they do agriculture. So, for instance, when we're using banana circles at the top of our land, or we're integrating our ducks as our natural pest management for our food forest, because they're like the snails and slugs. We're making compost, we're making mushrooms, we use a lot of worms and that kind of stuff. And the cool thing about it, so I like to think that y'all are very lucky because all of us are doing permaculture tomorrow. So I'm going to give a very in-depth orientation on everything we're doing there. I'm going to explain all the systems, how they work, and all that good stuff. So that's the second goal, is to act as a prototype. And the third, and I would say the most important goal of this farm, is to empower Kruan Noi. And Kruan Noi, so he actually lives right there. That is a man that, if I've ever met an educator, someone that genuinely cares about what he does as far as being an educator and loving those kids, it's that man. And so as far as understanding how to invest in social entrepreneurs, the best thing we can do as an organization is help put him in a position to better succeed in helping his own people. So that's why we're creating that farm. It's to provide him with a classroom where he can teach his kids about self-sufficiency and environmental stewardship. And that's something that's very, very important to their culture and these people. So, with that being said, do you have any questions? Okay, so before I end, I can feel the energy or lack thereof. So we're going to be doing some farming. Where I come from, we do lots of farming. I come from Central Illinois. And where I come from, I hear this thing a lot. It's called a rebel yell. Would you like to hear out those? Yeah! Now, because you're all going to do some farming, I would like to hear all of y'all's best rebel yell. Are you ready? I can tell. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Okay, we're ready now. That's all I got. Thank you.